Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
Military spouses were on Capitol Hill last week to push lawmakers to support legislation aimed at expanding access to capital and small business administration resources for military spouse entrepreneurs, an effort advocates say could help address the persistently high military spouse unemployment rate and improve military retention. Federal News Network's Anastasia Obis was there and joins us with more. Anastasia, thanks for being here.
Hey, Terry.
What exactly are the military spouses pushing for?
So military spouses are advocating for the Military Spouse Small Business Recognition Act. The bill specifically seeks to designate military spouse-owned businesses as a disadvantaged category under the SBA's 8A Business Development Program. What that would do for them is a couple of things. The designation would reduce borrowing costs for spouses by waiving SBA loan guarantee fees for loans up to $1 million. The fees usually add up thousands of dollars to the cost of borrowing, something that military spouses already can't afford. The bill would also reduce equity injection requirements by at least 5%. 5% might not sound like much, but right now military spouses who want to start or purchase a business are required to put down between 15 to 20% of funding upfront. So that's a significant barrier, and that would make it easier for military spouses to start a business. The designation would also allow military spouses to compete for set-aside and sole source federal contracts worth up to $4 million. And it would provide access to various resources like mentorship, training, other business development resources. Military spouses have access to it, but it's not really comprehensive. Another thing that the bill would do is it would require the SBA to track and report data on military spouse participation in SBA loan programs. There's really no data on how many spouses try to access SBA loans, how many spouses get it, how many spouses are rejected. So they really need that data to understand where they're at. Here's Stephanie Brown. She's the CEO of the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce.
This is a movement. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking for recognition and the solution to address those structural barriers to success for small business owners. We represent every demographic in the country. Other groups have received this 8A designation. Military spouses represent every group. We're asking because of the service and sacrifice that we make to strengthen our military families.
What kind of feedback have they gotten from lawmakers so far?
So last Thursday, more than 50 military spouses hit the Hill. They met with members of Congress. They met with congressional staff. And we don't know yet, but they already might have 2 co-sponsors. But as of last week, they told me that 2 lawmakers are reviewing the bill. So the hope is they would get a commitment from them. In terms of the final draft, they said that once lawmakers review it, they will take another look at the bill based on their feedback. So, of course, things might change, and we'll see what the final version will look like. I also asked about the path forward for the bill. They said that if attaching the bill to the NDAA is the best way forward, that would be their goal. But it's really not clear whether they're attempting to push it for the 2027 NDAA or maybe for the 2028 NDAA.
Lawmakers have introduced bills like this in the past. What's different now?
The way Stephanie Brown described it is the work and the push. It's just starting. The previous bill, when it was introduced, it was just an amendment. So that didn't go anywhere. But she said that now that they've learned a lot more about the process and how it works, they have an entire community that they're bringing here, that they're backing them. They're launching a big social media campaign. They're encouraging spouses to reach out to their representatives, no matter where they are. So it's a much bigger effort. Here's Stephanie Brown again.
I've learned a lot in a short period of time, but we're coming back at it, bringing really the community to stand behind us. Not just the military spouse business owners and budding entrepreneurs, but advocates like the Reserve Organization of America. And I'm a big believer that if the private sector is already doing something, then that should be key for the government to take note of. I think it's time, now is the time for the federal government to step up and do the right thing. So we're taking a very different, more active approach. The national campaign will launch after this event, and we will begin to put positive pressure and requests from military and family members all across the country on their elected officials following this event.
It seems like this effort might be swimming upstream a little bit. The Trump administration has not been quite the advocate of small business that previous administrations have been. What are some of the hurdles that this bill could face as it moves forward?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what I asked. And the legislation could face scrutiny over a couple of things. The first and the big one would be the designation, like why military spouses should receive a separate designation instead of qualifying through existing categories such as women-owned small businesses. Stephanie said that they get this all the time, why military spouses couldn't just qualify as women-owned businesses. But not recognizing military spouses as a separate group lumps them in with 60 million women-owned small businesses, and they're saying that they're asking for this based on their service and investment in national security, but this is something that will be a hurdle for them. And the next thing will be the next challenge will be is the cost. They don't know so far how much it's going to cost. There is no estimate so far, and that's going to be another challenge.
They try to make the case that this bill would lower unemployment rates and improve military readiness and retention. How do they connect those dots?
We've talked about it so much. The push comes as the military spouse unemployment continues to really outpace the national average. It's at 22%, which is 5 times the national average. And the reasons are frequent relocations, deployments, lack of affordable childcare, that all of that affect military spouse employment. As a result, starting or purchasing a small business, that has really become one of the more viable career options where spouses could take it with them. However, at the same time, establishing their own businesses in one place and picking it up and going somewhere else means that they have to reestablish the entire thing all over again. They have to reestablish their customer base, etc. And, at the same time, nearly half of military spouses are either self-employed, they own small businesses, or they're interested in owning a small business. And, if something like this were to pass, this would really help the unemployment rate because surveys show that military spouse unemployment is one of the main reasons that service members leave the service.
That's Federal News Network's Anastasia Obis. Anastasia, thanks for bringing us the story.
Thank you, Terry.
You can find all the details at federalnewsnetwork.com.